We'll call it Black History, and we'll force you to give us a week and a month to celebrate the culture and history that you gave us that destroys our people still to this day. This is Black History, and it's coming from the Bible. It lines up perfectly. Class today is titled A History of Black History and the Bible. Why? Because our people don't seem to know that Black history is actually in the Bible. In fact, the only history in the Bible is Black history for the most, when I say for the most part, meaning the Bible is about us, the so-called Blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, but it does list the history of all of the nations on earth, all right? So let's get started. We're going to discuss the truth about the Bible and Black history, but first, let's look at the history of Black History Month itself, right? In order for us to understand why we even have Black History Month, we're going to go back into it and look at it. Oddly, we never associate the Bible with Black history, or we never associate Black history with the Bible. We weren't raised to believe that we were in the Bible as a people, or that the Bible ever belonged to us as a people. But the Bible does absolutely belong to us as a people, and we associate typically Black history with slavery, with Black inventors. That's what we get in Black history. We get musicians and entertainers, athletes, inventors, civil rights leaders, and it goes usually into the struggles and the different figures. And Martin Luther King Jr., you know, of course, is a major figure when it comes to Black history. But first, I got Soldier Elisha reading for me. Elisha, let's go ahead and read Hosea 4 and 6 first. Why is it that we don't understand that the Bible is Black history? Hosea 4 and 6. Got to turn your mic on, sir.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
My people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. That knowledge is biblical knowledge. We are destroyed because of our lack of knowledge of the Bible, of the law, statutes, and commandments of God. You find that in the book of Malachi, chapter 2, verse 7. Keep reading.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge.
I need you to read kind of a little bit faster. Remember, we behind time. Come on.
Because thou hast neglected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God, I will also forget thy children.
I will also forget your children, your ancestry. So the Bible always starts way back, and then it comes down, it trickles down to today's times. So just like in the Christian church, we were never taught that Black history is the Bible or the Bible is Black history. We also don't see ourselves in it. But here God is telling a group of people through Hosea that my people, which are the Israelites, are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, and because they rejected, or we or our ancestors rejected his knowledge, meaning the laws of God and the words that are in the Bible, that he would reject us. But he wouldn't only reject them at that time. He said, I will also reject your children, meaning your ancestors, to go down the line. Further down, meaning us. We're the ones that have been rejected, but now we are returning to God in the truth of the scriptures. Give me Jeremiah chapter 17, and we're going to read verse 4 and 5. Jeremiah 17, verses 4 and 5.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 4.
Come on.
And thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. For ye have kindled a fire in my anger, which shall burn forever.
Which shall burn forever. Come on.
Thus saith the Lord, Cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart departed from the Lord.
So again, Jeremiah was told the same thing. He said, I'm going to discontinue you from your heritage. Let's pull up that definition of the word heritage. I sent, I believe, a screenshot of that word heritage, trying to make sure that we were prepped. I didn't want to make it hard. Let's get the definition of the word heritage. All right. Elisha, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Read that first definition of the word heritage.
This is the definition of heritage. First definition: property that is or may be inherited, an inheritance.
All right. Read the next one.
Valued objects and qualities such as cultural traditions.
Cultural traditions.
Unspoiled countryside.
Meaning your land not destroyed.
And historic buildings that have been passed down from previous generations.
Like our temple that was destroyed. That was our heritage. Read the next one.
Denoting a traditional brand or product regarded as emblematic of fine craftsmanship.
So all of the stuff that they took from us out of our temple and in our land, that was our heritage. Read the next one.
Of a plant variety, not hybridized.
Okay, yeah, skip that. Go to archaic.
Archaic. A special or individual possession, an allotted portion.
An allotted portion, meaning our land, meaning our Bible, meaning our history, meaning our education, our language. All of that was allotted only to us. It was not allotted to everybody else. Let's read number 3.
Christians or the ancient Israelites.
The ancient Israelites. The reason it says Christians in front of that is because the first people to be called Christians in Acts chapter 11, verse 26 were Jews, Israelites. So Christians or the ancient Israelites, come on.
Seen as God's chosen people.
Us being God's chosen people is our heritage. That is our heritage. It only belongs to us, the history of our people. All right? So when it says those that departed from the Lord, that's what it's talking about. We lost all of that land, ideology about who we are, traditions of our elders, so forth and so on. All right? But when we read in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 5, it said, read verse 5 again, Jeremiah 17 and 5.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 17 and verse 5.
Come on.
Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man.
So cursed be anybody that trusts in another person, meaning our race. We could trust in our elders because they were teaching us the commandments of God as they do today. Our leadership teaches us to keep the commandments of God and the faith of Christ. But here it says, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, meaning anybody that is outside of the law, statutes, and commandments of God and teaching us to keep those. Come on.
Cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm.
Read.
And whose heart departed from the Lord.
And whose mind departs from the Lord. Whose mind departs from the Lord. Give me Baruch chapter 4, verse 28. Baruch chapter 4 and verse 28. Because what happened to us? Who did we put our trust in? Come on.
This is the book of Baruch, chapter 4 and verse 28.
Come on.
For as it was your mind to go astray from God, so being returned, seek him 10 times more.
So now we got to teach classes about black history, and we have to show the truth of black history and true black history that is from the Bible. The Bible is black history. So it was our mind to begin to trust in other people's history, to trust in a culture that was handed down to us by other groups of people and not in the Bible or the word of God itself. It was our mind. And now we are returning back to God, identified as his children, the 12 tribes of Israel. And so now it's time for us to go 10 times harder. So now it's time for us to learn true black history. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28. And I want to read verse 15 first. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. We're dealing with black history today.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15.
What chapter?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. We got to make it a little bit clearer. Soldier, he's slurring them words. All right. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15. Come on.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So God told a particular group of people that if they did not hear and do the commandments that were given to them by Moses, that they would end up being cursed. The curses would come upon them. Let's see who that people is. Let's go to Deuteronomy 1:1.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 1 and verse 1. These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness.
So he's speaking only to the Israelites. The mixed multitude didn't get this message. Get that out of your heads. The mixed multitude did not get this message, so it was not for them. It was only given to the 12 tribes of Israel. So now, let's look at a couple of scriptures that tell you what the 12 tribes of Israel look like, because I keep saying black history. The Bible is black history. Why do we say that? Give me Jeremiah. Let's go through. Just give me. I'm gonna give you some free reign. Give me a few black scriptures, color scriptures. What do the Israelites look like?
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 14 and verse 2.
Come on.
Judah mourneth.
In the Judah gates.
What? Judah mourneth.
Judah mourneth. Come on.
In the gates thereof language. They are black unto the ground.
So the Jews are black unto the ground. Like the ground, like the earth, the Jews are black. Why do we say like the earth? Give me Genesis 2:7. Genesis 2:7. So the Jews, the Israelites, are black unto the ground. Come on.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 2 and verse 7.
Read.
And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground.
God formed man. So Adam, the first man ever created, and his wife that came out of him were formed from the dust of the ground. What does that mean? The dust of the ground means that he was the color of the soil, the dirt, meaning he was a dark brown man in skin color. The deeper you dig into the earth, the darker the soil gets. So we varied in our shades of brown. All right. Give me another color scripture. Give me another color scripture.
This is the book of Song of Solomon, chapter 1 and verse 5. I am black, but comely.
I am black. King Solomon said what?
I am black.
I am black, but what?
But comely.
That word comely means handsome. I am black and beautiful. My skin is smooth. But let's go further, because some people believe that this scripture is not saying what it's saying. Let's see. Keep reading.
I am black, but comely. O ye daughters of Jerusalem.
O ye daughters of Jerusalem. Come on.
As the tents of Kedar.
Now, it says as the tents of Kedar. Kedar is a land in Arabia, but Kedar means black. So as the tents, or the coverings of the tents that are in Kedar, those coverings were black. Come on.
As the tents of Kedar. As the curtains of Solomon.
As the draping of Solomon. I'm black like the black tents of Kedar. That's what he's saying. So when he's saying I'm black, he's actually saying I am black. And he was a Jew from the tribe of Judah. Give me another one. Job 30:30.
This is the book of Job, chapter 30 and verse 30.
Come on.
My skin is black upon me.
My skin is black. My skin. So Job was a black man. Job was a black man. Give me another black man in the Bible. Give me Revelation. Revelation. A black man in the Bible. And yes, he's actually black. Read that.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 14.
Come on.
His head and his hairs were white like wool.
Give me verse 1 first so we know who we talking about.
The book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
The revelation of Jesus Christ.
So go back to 14. We're talking about Jesus Christ in the Bible. Black history and the Bible. A history of black history and the Bible. Come on.
Verse 14, his head and his hairs were white like wool.
Jesus Christ's head, meaning the hair on top of his head, and his hairs, the archaic word for beard, his hairs were white like wool. So white and woolly. Jesus the Christ. Come on.
As white as snow.
Uh-huh.
And his eyes were as a flame of fire.
Because he drank wine in moderation. Come on.
And his feet like unto fine brass.
Now we're looking down at his feet. This is John on the Isle of Patmos. He's looking down. He said, I'm looking at his feet, and his feet look like the color of fine brass, but
as if they burned in a furnace.
But it looked like they had been burned in a furnace. And no, it's not because he was walking in sandals and his feet were dirty. Jesus Christ is a dark-skinned black man like all of the Jews were at the time. Jesus is black. You know what? Let's get a little bonus, man. Go to Daniel. Give me the book of Daniel. Because what does God look like? What does his father look like? What does his father look like? You know what I want?
This is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and verse 9.
Come on.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down.
Uh-huh.
And the Ancient of Days did sit.
The Ancient of Days is the Lord God, the Most High God, the Father of Jesus Christ. Not Jesus Christ himself, but the Father of Jesus Christ. Come on.
And the Ancient of Days did sit.
Uh-huh.
Whose garment was white as snow.
Whose what?
Whose garment.
Whose garment.
Was white as snow.
Because he has a body. Come on.
And the hair of the head like the pure wool.
And the hair of his head like the pure wool. This brother got to be from Memphis or somewhere. Oh, hey, Alicia, a good reader, bro. But today, sheesh, like the pure wool. So the Lord God, the Father of Jesus the Christ, has woolly hair, pure woolly hair, just like his son. The son looked just like his daddy. God himself is a black man. The Bible is black history. But what happened? Because are we all still black today? No, because that's one of the arguments that we hear all of the time. Give me Hosea chapter 7 and verse 8. That's an argument that we hear all the time. Well, they could be in other colors because we have mixed, we're mixed today. We have mixed with other people. Man, shut up. It's true. We have mixed with other people. All right. But generally, the Jews are black. Read that.
The book of Hosea, chapter 7 and verse 8.
Come on.
Ephraim, he have mixed himself among the people.
So Ephraim, the northern kingdom, which is now the Hispanics and the so-called Hispanics and Native Americans, have mixed himself amongst the people. Come on.
Have mixed himself among the people.
Uh-huh.
Ephraim is a cake not turned.
Ephraim is a cake not turned. What does that mean? It's like if you got a pot or a skillet and you want to cook a pancake and you pour your batter on that skillet, one side is going to be turning browner or darker while the top side is still going to be light. So today we vary in colors from very light skin to very dark skin like myself, all right? Or like the Sudanese that make me look light skinned. But we vary in skin tone. So we are different colors today, even down to the point of blonde hair and blue eyes in some case. Like, hey, is it possible for you to bring up Blake Griffith's parents? Can you bring that up? Right, cool. All right, so right here, this is a basketball player known as Blake Griffith, all right? That's his father. You see how dark his father is, and that is his mother. She's a very pale Edomite with red hair. This is Blake Griffith's parents, all right? Now, let's get Blake. So let's get that one that says Blake. It has him and his parents. So now this is a picture of Blake Griffin himself in the middle. That's his dad to the left, his mom to the right. So we see Blake Griffin, even though he has the wide nose and the lips, his skin tone and his hair color looks like his mother. But he's the seed of his father. Numbers 1:18.
The book of Numbers, chapter 1 and verse 18.
Uh-huh.
And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month.
Come on.
And they declared their pedigrees.
They declared their bloodlines
after their families. By the house of their fathers.
So that's why we say that. It's by the house of your father. Whatever your father is what you are. There's no such thing as mixed. Let's get that out of our heads. Black history is not allowing us to be mixed. Whatever your daddy is what you are. All right? So Blake Griffin, and I believe his father is Haitian, which would be the tribe of Levi. So Blake Griffin himself, even though he looks more like his mother's skin tone and hair-wise, he is the bloodline of his father. Blake Griffin would be what we would call a Levite. Now type in Blake Griffin's son. Just type in, take parent out and just put son. All right, so now let's click on that picture with Blake Griffin's son. Yep. So now let's look and see. This is Blake Griffin. This is the woman that he had a child by. Look at that baby. Go out. Let's pull one of the other pictures where he's older. Yep, the one he's sitting at the podium with him. He's sitting at the podium with him, bro, right there. No, the other one, man, that's clear. All right, Nick, thank you. Blow that up. Blow that up a little bit. You didn't have to click. Go back out and just blow it up, bro. That's all. Just expand it. All right, just leave it there. Don't worry. Don't just leave it there. Now look at his son. Blake Griffin's son is blonde hair, blue eyed, but he comes from the grandfather, which put out Blake, and then Blake put out his son. So his son now is blonde hair and blue eyed, but guess what? This kid is a Jew. He would be the tribe of Levi. All right. So read that scripture again in Hosea 7 and 8.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 7 and verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Ephraim, he have mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
So this is what that's talking about. So when we look at Blake Griffin and his son, they're the very light-skinned side of who would be the Jews today, but his father would be the very dark-skinned side of the Jews today. All right? So let's get back on it. Let's go back to the so now we were going to Deuteronomy chapter 28 because we want to explain the rest of that history. You can take this off of the screen now. Deuteronomy chapter 28, read verse 15 again, please.
This is the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15.
Come on.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
Verse number 32. So curses will come upon the Israelites and overtake them. Come on.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long. And there shall be no might in thine hand.
So what are we calling that? What is that right there? Thy sons and thy daughters. When was the time that our sons and daughters were given to another people and we were not able to get them back? That's called the slave trade. In slavery, our sons and daughters were taken away from us. So when we go back into the 1400s, during the Spanish Inquisition, the sons and daughters of those people, of the Jews that were in Spain and Portugal, were taken from them, sent to the island of Sao Tome, which is just outside of Equatorial Guinea in West Africa, and they were placed there. And that was from the ages of about 10 years old and up, right? So they were taken from their parents, sent to that island, and eventually they made their way to the mainland of Africa and began to blend in again and began to create populations and communities again. So the people of Equatorial Guinea are Jews that are from the Spanish Inquisitions, all right? So the sons and daughters were taken, and we had no might to get them back. Let's go to verse 48.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger.
And the hunger, so for food, said that the Israelites, the black Jews, would have to serve their enemies for food. Meaning everything that we want to eat, even still today, we have to go to our enemies to get it. Come on.
In hunger.
In hunger.
And in thirst.
Everything we want to drink, we get from our enemies. Read.
And in nakedness.
All of our clothing that we want, we have to get from our enemies. Come on.
And in want of all things.
Driver's license, birth certificate, death certificate, marriage certificate, divorce certificates, paychecks, housing. Everything that you want now must come from your enemies. The black Jews would not own their own things anymore. Our heritage was lost. Our history was destroyed. Come on.
And he,
that enemy,
shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck. Until he have destroyed thee.
So in the slave trade, we were destroyed. Why? Because when we were taken into the other lands of our captivity, like Colombia, Puerto Rico, South America, Central America, Mexico, North America, we no longer desired, once the emancipations happened, once we were given our freedom, we no longer desired to go back to Africa to reestablish ourselves and take our history and our culture back. We no longer were ready to go and storm back into Israel and fight a war to get our land back. We no longer called ourselves by biblical names. We now were Johnson, Smith, Abrams, and all those various names and whatever else. We no longer followed the beliefs of the Bible in a perfect mindset. Now we were following Christianity. Now we're following Islam. Now we're following Buddhism. All of these other things. That's how we were destroyed, to the point that we lost all references and all points and understanding of our heritage, of our black history. Now, let's see black history some more. Give me verse 68.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
So pause right there. Let's break down Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68 so that we understand how this is black history. And the Lord thy God shall bring thee into Egypt again. Give me Egypt. Give me Egypt. What does the word Egypt mean? Because it's not a Hebrew word. It's not a Greek word. There was a word like it in Greek, but it was a Latin word, Egyptos, which means what, according to this verse? Read that.
The book of Exodus, chapter 20 and verse 2.
Come on.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
So that word Egypt or Egyptos means bondage, bondage. So what says the Lord thy God shall bring thee into Egypt is saying bondage again. Why does it say bondage in Egypt? Give me Exodus 6 and 5. Give me chapter 6, verse 5 of Exodus.
The book of Exodus, chapter 6 and verse 5.
What was our condition in Egypt? Come on.
And I have also heard the groanings of the children of Israel, whom the Egyptians kept in bondage.
Whom the Egyptians kept in bondage. Just like we're still in bondage in spiritual Egypt today. This is spiritual Sodom and Egypt right here in America. But we were also in bondage to the Egyptians. So they were black, but they weren't our people. So black history says, yes, that black men enslaved other black men, but we were two separate races. Our people did not sell our people to them ships. We were in bondage to the Egyptians. Go back to Deuteronomy 28:68. How did it say that we would go into that slavery?
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 68.
Come on.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
With ships. With ships. So we went into slavery this time with ships. All right? With cargo slave ships. Come on.
With ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again.
So God said exactly how I said it would happen. How it's going to happen. Moses tell them, write it down so they can remember it, and you would not see it again. What is it that we would not see again? What is it that we would not see again? Give me the book of, and that is, it's talking about Africa. Give me Galatians 4:26 first. What is it that we would not see again?
This is the book of Galatians, chapter 4, and verse 26.
Come on.
But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all.
We would not see our homeland, our motherland anymore. We would not see it again as a nation. Are there still some of us over there as remnants? Absolutely. But we would not see our homeland again. Give me Exodus 14:13. Let's prove that it's talking about that actual Egypt or that Africa again. It's because there is a spiritual Egypt that people try to shoot down. All right. But let's show that it was saying that we would not see our homeland again as a people. Come on.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 14, and verse 13.
Read.
And Moses said unto the people, fear ye not, stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will show to you today. For the Egyptians whom ye have seen today, ye shall see them again no more forever.
So it's telling you that it's not talking about that captivity when it says that it would happen to us and that we would go into Egypt again. We would not see those Egyptians again. So we could always go back and forth into Egypt. But this is telling you that it is not that same Egypt that we would see or that same captivity again. It's this captivity here in America. Black history and the Bible. It's in here. All right. Go back. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Start at and there.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68.
Just start at and there. Just start at and there. Come on.
And there.
There, meaning where you got off of the slave ships.
Ye shall be sold unto your enemies. For bondmen.
Slave men.
And bondwomen.
Slave women.
And no man shall buy you.
So nobody would be able to redeem us from this captivity. So when it says and there, it's talking about of the slave ships or the place that we would get off of the slave ships. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 16, quickly. Deuteronomy 17 and 16. Come on.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 17 and verse 16. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he shall multiply horses.
So it's not talking about that old Egypt when we got off of the slave ships. It's talking about where we would get off of the ships. All of the places that we landed, all of the places that we know of today, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans went into captivity on ships. It is not talking about old ancient Egypt. Go back to Deuteronomy 28, 68, and it says, ye shall be sold unto your enemies. We know who we were sold to all across the world. The Arabs sold us. The Chinese, the Japanese, the so-called whites sold us. Yes, whites. And there's two groups. You got your regular so-called white people. Then you got the Amalekites, who today we call Ashkenazim and Sephardic. The fake Jews, the ones we call Amalekites in the Bible, they sold us as well. Black history and the Bible. All right? And it says that no man should buy us, meaning nobody could redeem us. That goes around to Christ. Christ is our Redeemer. Christ is the one that could redeem us. All right? Give me that in Psalms 49 and 7, I think it is. Psalms 49 and 7. Christ is the one that would come, that would be able to redeem us.
The book of Psalms, chapter 49 and verse 7.
Come on.
None of them can by any means redeem his brother, nor give to God a ransom for him.
Nor give to God a ransom. We could not be bought away like we could under the laws of Moses when we were in our own land, because we were spread abroad. All right. Okay. So that's Deuteronomy chapter 28. I want you to read verse number 30 now, because 68 is pure black history. But now let's read verse number 30 to close that out in Deuteronomy chapter 28.
Verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife.
Thou shalt betroth a wife.
And another man shall lie with her.
That's like what you saw in the movie The Butler when David Banner was in the field. He had his son with him. His wife was Mariah Carey. And when the slave master came out, he told her basically, let's go out here in the shack. And he told he told David Banner, or the husband, look, I'm about to go in here with your wife and lay down with her, man. She'll be back in a few. And David Banner's son rose up and was like, Dad, you just going to let him do that? David Banner said something, and the man shot him dead right there. There was nothing that we could do. We would betroth the wife, but another man, our slave master, would lie with her. All right? That's going on right now in Sudan. They doing that right now as well. Come on.
Thou shalt build a house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
So they took the land, and they took our forces, or what we would get out of the land, to be able to feed ourselves and sell to make money. So that's black history in the Bible. That's a history of black history in the Bible. All right? Deuteronomy is clear about whose history is describing. We already heard that. The slave ships, our kids being taken and not being able to get them back without power, all of these things. So we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that's our history, so-called black history. It's us. But our trust in God has been broken, and we sought a replacement. At that time when our heritage was broken and our spirit was broken, and the Most High God did it because of our disobedience, but when we got broken, we ran looking for somebody else to replace what we had. And that's the situation that we're in now. Give me 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 13 through 16. 2 Maccabees, this is in the Apocrypha. For those of you that may be new watching, the Apocrypha is canon, as they like to say. It is inspired. It is the Old Testament, actually. Come on, 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, verse 13 through 16. And y'all can look that up. Read.
The book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 4, in verse 13. Now, such was the height of Greek fashions.
Such was the height of Greek fashions, just like here in America. Come on.
An increase of heathenish manners.
That was the height of Greek fashion. Us increasing and evils increasing, because when the Greeks came into power, they began to spread sin wide. They began to do more than the average other nation was doing on earth. They spread it, and they spread it fast and strong and hard. Come on.
Now, such was the height of Greek fashions and the increase of heathenish manners through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch.
So Jason was an Israelite, and he began to take on all of the Greekish fashions and spread them amongst the Israelites, amongst the Jews. Come on.
That ungodly wretch, and no high priest.
That ungodly wretch. He was an ungodly wretch. Read.
That the priest had no courage to serve any more at the altar, but despising the temple and neglecting the sacrifices, hastened to be partakers of the unlawful allowance in the place of exercise. After the game of discus called them forth.
So the priests didn't even want to be priests no more. They didn't even want to teach us the law, statutes, and commandments of God no more. Instead, their hearts, because of what Jason did, began to turn towards Greek fashions, and they now wanted to play discus. They wanted to run fast and play sports and be a part of the Olympics. That's what this is going into. They wanted to take part in the Olympics, and it says in the place of exercise. Exercise was a gymnasium. It was naked exercise. They wanted to be in there butt naked amongst each other doing all manner of foulness. All right? That's why he was called the ungodly wretch. And these are the Greekish fashions that we began to take on. Come on.
After the game of discus called them forth.
No, verse 15. Come on, bro. Stay with me.
Not setting by the honors of their fathers.
Not setting by the honors of what we had been given by our ancestors. Come on.
But liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
But we preferred the customs and the evils that the heathen Greeks, the Edomites, were doing. Read.
By reason whereof sore calamity came upon them.
And because we like to keep their custom instead of ours, sore calamities. All the things that we read in Deuteronomy 28, those things are cyclical. They go in a circle. They keep happening. So it said that sore calamities came upon us. Come on.
For they had them to be their enemies and avengers.
How in the hell does that happen? Now, all of a sudden, we go searching for something new to do so that we can belong to something, so we can say that we have a culture or some type of a heritage. But it says that we had the Greeks, our enemies, to be both our enemies and our avengers. What in the entire hell? This is black history, and it's the same way today. This is our history in the Bible. We had them to be both our enemies and avengers. Come on.
Whose custom they follow so earnestly,
and
unto whom they desire to be like in all things.
And whom we desire to be like in all things, just like today. If you go to the U.S. Virgin Islands, the U.S. Virgin Islands were emancipated, and you have July the 3rd as the day on St. Croix for emancipation, quote unquote emancipation. Well, we know that July the 4th is the emancipation of the Americas, right? 1776, July the 4th. Guess what? On the island of St. Croix, those Negroes won't do nothing on July the 3rd, the day that they were supposedly set free. They wait until July the 4th to celebrate freedom. The day that their ancestors were still enslaved in 1776 gets celebrated over the day that their emancipation came on July the 3rd in the early 1800s or in the 1800s. This is the madness of our people. This is how we've lost our heritage. This is how we've turned away from who we were and lost all ideas and knowledge about who we were and who we are as a people. These are the things that happen. All right? So we wanted to be like them. Christmas, Easter, birthdays, which we were forced to do. That's in 2nd Maccabees. Read that. As a matter of fact, 2nd Maccabees chapter 6 and verse number 6. We're going to read 6 and 7.
2nd Maccabees chapter 6 and verse 7.
Come on.
And in the day of the king's birth.
No, start at verse 6.
Verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days.
So we had to lose our Sabbath days.
Or ancient feasts.
And all of our feast days, because we gained their feast days. Come on.
Or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
No, we had to call ourselves Antiochians. We had to call ourselves Greeks. We had to call ourselves Corinthians. We called ourselves Ephesians. All of those books of the Bible in the New Testament is talking about us. That's us. Romans, it's talking about us. Jews in Rome. Come on.
And in the day of the king's birth.
What is the king's birth called? The day of the king's birth? A birthday. On the king's birthday, come on.
Every month they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices.
Pork.
And when the feast of Bacchus was kept.
Which is called Carnival today, which is called Mardi Gras today. Come on.
The Jews were compelled to go in procession to Bacchus carrying ivy.
Carrying ivy. That's what we were compelled, forced to do, to put all of our history, all of our culture away and take on the culture of the heathens. But it says in chapter 4 that many of us did it willingly. The priests didn't even want to preach the gospel no more and teach us who we were. They decided to go and be naked playing sports. Madness. So we desired a celebration of our enslavement, basically. That's what we ended up desiring. And we did it in this nation as well as back then. And we did it out of a need to feel equal to our oppressors. The same thing that happened back then. So now let's look at some of these things with Black History Month. How did Black History Month start? Where did Black History Month come from? Give me the screenshot that I sent you dealing with Black History Month. All right, so let's read that. Read that for me, soldier.
Black History Month. Woodson's devotion to showcasing the contributions of Black Americans bore fruit in 1926 when he launched Negro History Week in the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln.
With the birthday of who?
Abraham Lincoln.
Damn. He put it in order to coincide with an Edomite, which was a president of the United States, supposedly was a man towards us. This is where our emancipation came, through Abraham Lincoln, even though he didn't want to. And he says it clearly that if he did not have to free us, he would not have freed us. It was a business deal. Don't get it twisted. It was a business deal, and you can look the history up. But Carter G. Woodson set out first only Negro History Week in the second week of February to coincide with the birthdays of Abraham Lincoln and who else?
And Frederick
Frederick
Douglass.
Douglass, which is one of us. Read that last line. Woodson's concept.
Woodson's concept was later expanded into Black History Month.
So Black History Month started in 1926 and eventually in 1976 under what president was that? Hold on. Let me look real quick, y'all. Let me look. What president? I'm going to look it up. What president approved Black History Month? Hold on. I don't type fast, y'all. I don't type fast, but I just want to see his name. What president approved it? Because it was in Gerald Ford. President Gerald Ford, Woodson and other prominent African Americans, President Gerald Ford officially recognized Black History Month in 1976. So 50 years after this was implemented in America, it went from being 1 week to being a whole month. And it was given to us in the shortest damn month of the year, February. In the shortest month of the year is when it was approved. 50 years later, America finally accepted. A president had to force it and say, all right, cool, we'll recognize y'all. That's how it went. So that was Carter G. Woodson. Give me the next one. Why did he choose February? Why was February chosen? We spoke about it, but let's see it again. Read that.
Why was February chosen as Black History Month? Woodson chose February for reasons of tradition and reform.
For reasons of what?
Of tradition and reform.
So whose traditions was he choosing? It's like what we read in the book of Maccabees. He was choosing the Greekish fashions. He had that in mind. Now, don't get it twisted. He has some quotes, and we're going to pull those up in a minute. I'm not saying that he was totally against us. Remember, these men back at this time and us coming into America had lost all of our heritage and culture. We didn't know any better. So I'm not condemning the brother. I'm not, I'm thankful for the things that the men ahead of us were, that the Most High allowed these men to accomplish because of Black history, a lot of us were able to look at ourselves and begin to form some level of pride. So when you get back into the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, it was because of these things that we would look back at our own history and stand on some pride. So I'm not bashing. I'm just showing how our history lines up with the history of the Bible. Black history is ours, and Black history is in the Bible. So don't take it like I'm just bashing the brother, all right? Read it again.
Woodson chose February for reasons of tradition and reform.
Their traditions and reform for us in America. Come on.
It is commonly said that Woodson selected February to encompass the birthdays of two great Americans who play a prominent role in shaping Black history.
Shaping Black history. Here's what's funny. It's not shaping Israelite history. They were shaping Black history, a culture that was given to us because we're not black. We are the Israelites. Come on. Namely
Abraham Lincoln,
an Edomite,
and Frederick Douglass.
Come on.
Whose birthdays are the 12th and the 14th, respectively.
All right, cool. So now let's look at some of the quotes. Let's go on that because, like I said, I wanted to bring out some of the quotes. Let's click that link. I think it says AZ Quotes. You see it? Just type in azquotes.com. I'll give it to you so you can just type it all the way out. No, it's got to be together. That's one word. azquotes.com /author AUTHOR /15932 Carter under the line that's on the bottom, not the dash yet. Carter G dash. No, the one that's under. Woodson. All right. Let's pull that up. Yeah, let's go to all. Yep, right there. The first one. There we go. All right. Oh, we working together, man. We're going to make this thing happen. Teamwork make the dream work. So let's look at some of these quotes by Carter G. Woodson. All right, read that first quote.
Carter G. Woodson quotes, if you can control...
Pull it up some, soldier. Pull it up some so he can see the whole thing, man. But pull it up on the screen so he can see the... Yeah, all right.
If you can control a man's thinking...
If you can control a man's thinking, his thoughts, meaning if you can reprogram his mind...
You do not have to worry about his actions.
You do not have to worry about his actions. In other words, if you can brainwash a man, you can control that man. You don't have to worry about all of his actions will be after you. Go back to 2 Maccabees chapter 4. 2 Maccabees chapter 4. And let's read that again, what it said. 2 Maccabees chapter 4, verse 15.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees chapter 4 in verse 15. Not setting by the honors of their fathers, but liking the glory of the Grecians best of all.
Our minds were changed to follow the customs, traditions of our oppressors. Carter G. Woodson understood this, that if you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. But in the Bible, God says that there's an opposite to that. Give me the book of Psalms, chapter 19, verse 7. There's an opposite effect to this. Our minds can be controlled, but we have to control it by the word of God. Read that.
The book of Psalm, chapter 19 and verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect.
The law of God is perfect.
Converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple.
So you see that? So our minds can be switched from being simple minds to being wise minds. Wisdom according to the commandments of God. All right. Give me, what does it say? If you would subdue 2nd Esdras 14, 2nd Esdras 14:34. So our minds have to be reprogrammed from what's been programmed into us here in America. Black history, we only use that term because that's what's given to us. But the reality is we should always be talking about Israelite history, not just black history, because we're not black. We are the Israelites. Give me that.
2nd Esdras chapter 14 and verse 34.
Come on.
Therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding.
If it would be that you would take under control, subdue, control your own understanding, put that to the side. Come on.
And reform your hearts.
And reform your minds. Let your minds be reformed, like he's saying here. Come on.
Thou shalt be kept alive.
Ye shall be kept alive.
And after death ye shall obtain mercy.
Ye shall obtain mercy after death. After we put off this old body and put on the immortal body, we'll be perfect. But the same as in this fleshly body, if we reform our minds to the law, statutes, and commandments of God, we become new men on earth. That's how we reform and become new creatures. That's how we're reborn. So let's go back to let's look at another quote by Carter G. Woodson. Scroll that one up. As a matter of fact, let's finish reading that first one because he said some more stuff in that thing. If you can control a man's thinking, you do not have to worry about his action. Start there. When you determine?
When you determine what a man shall think, you do not have to concern yourself about what he will do. If you make a man feel that he is inferior.
If you break a man down to the lowest point.
You do not have to compel him to accept an inferior status, for he will seek it himself.
He will seek it himself, just like we do here in America, celebrating black history, celebrating black love, celebrating birthdays, Easter, Christmas, and everything else. All of that is what was given to us, and today they don't even have to worry about whether we're going to do it or not because we seek it now. In fact, when we go out in the streets to teach people, they would rather call us names, scoff, and mock and tell us we're lying, even though we're reading it straight from the Bible. They would rather do that. That's how destroyed our minds are, and that's what the curse that was pronounced against us said in Deuteronomy chapter 28. Until we would be destroyed. We would not even seek our own. We would only go after whatever the oppressor gave us. Keep reading. If you make a man.
If you make a man think that he is justly an outcast,
if you make him think that he was born to be an outcast,
you do not have to order him to the back door.
He'll walk in the back door willingly. Carter G. So this is showing you he just didn't have the understanding biblically to be able to free his people. Why? Because the Bible said that no man would redeem us. Finish reading. He will go.
He will go without being told.
Uh-huh.
And if there is no back door, his very nature will demand one.
Now we will go, and because you won't let us join white fraternities, we'll just start up black fraternities, and we'll call them the Divine Nine. You won't give it to us, we'll go and we'll just do the same thing you doing. We still going to follow your customs, but we going to put black in front of it. We won't call it, since you won't let us be leadership in the Methodist Episcopal Church, we'll call it the African Methodist Episcopal Church. We'll call it Black History, and we'll force you to give us a week and a month to celebrate the culture and history that you gave us that destroys our people still to this day. This is Black history, and it's coming from the Bible. It lines up perfectly. Y'all don't understand. All right, let's go out of this, because that's a beautiful, and he had a few other beautiful quotes. If y'all ever want to go here, y'all can come back, look for that website, and you can see some of the quotes that he made. But I gave you a screenshot of some of the other quotes that he made that shows the destroyed mind that was also in him. Let's go to that screenshot. Pull that up. It's the one. Yep. If you teach, it was right under that link. It was next under that link. Go back to the thing I sent you, or go back to what you uploaded, and it starts with if you teach. It's in blue highlights. Nope. Keep going. He's showing all the stuff that we're supposed to go through, and we ain't even got there yet. I sent it to you last night on the channel. It's in. Let me look. Y'all excuse me for a second. I'm sorry. I'm still here. Y'all can see that I'm here. I have not forsaken you. I have not forsaken you. Dallas AV, class content. All right. Off of here. Let me just send it to you. Hold on. All right, I just sent that to you there. Pull that one up, please. You have it? Yeah? Okay. All right. And let's pull that up. Yeah, you didn't just load it? You got to load it, man. Y'all bear with me. Y'all bear with me. We only got 20 minutes left. Y'all bear with me. Thanks, AV. Great job. All right, don't worry about it. Elisha, I gave it to you. You have it. Until he can get that pulled up, can you read that? I sent it to you as well. You have it.
Yes, sir.
Read that quote. If you teach the Negro.
Carji Woodson quotes, if you teach the Negro that he has accomplished as much good as any other race, he will aspire to equality.
He will aspire to what?
To equality.
He won't aspire to be better than. He will aspire to equality.
And justice without regard to race.
Without regard to race. He gonna make it like it ain't a race thing. Even though he created something called Negro History Week, which later became Black History Month, Carter G. Woodson did believe that if we could just put in enough work and show that we could accomplish as many things as them, that they then would accept us and see us as equal to them. And that's not what God ever commanded us to be. It's not what he ever said. Read Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. As a matter of fact, read that second quote first, then give me Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6.
Second quote, cooperation implies equality of the participants.
So cooperation implies equality. So when we cooperate, that implies that we are equal to. We believe that we're equal to them through our cooperation. Come on. In the particular?
And in the particular task at hand.
Participants in the particular task at hand. So we believe we're equal because of the particular tasks that are at hand. But we're not equal. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
He said above all people that are upon the face of the earth. We are better than them in every way possible. AV, were you able to get that pulled up? All right, I sent something else to you as well. So give me the second one now, because we've already read the first one. Give me the second one so that we can go through that. So again, our minds were destroyed, and all praises to the Most High that we were able to get a Negro History Week and eventually a Negro History or a Black History Month. And notice the change in that. Negro History Week went to Black History. We wasn't even Negroes no more. Now we was black. Destruction at the highest level. But we were then able to get Black History Month. And in that, many of us learned what we call Black history or our history, which was able to be a little spark of fire for those of us that would wake up at a particular time and learn that this book, the Bible, actually is Black history. All right, so we're thankful for that. The Most High orchestrated that perfectly. You ready? Did you pull it up? Come on, pull up the quotes, man, so we can see them. You see that, Elisha?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's read that. Let's read the top one first.
What we need is not a history of selected races or nations, but the history of the world void of national bias, race, hate, and religious prejudice.
So see, right there shows that's a destroyed mind, because he believed that we all needed to. Let's just put race away. We hear Christians say that today. Read the next one.
The bondage of the Negro brought captive from Africa is one of the greatest dreams in history.
Come on, bro.
Greatest dramas in history. And the writer who merely sees in that ordeal something to approve or condemn fails to understand the evolution of the human race.
Here he's talking about the evolution of he starts off talking about Negro history, us being brought from Africa, but then he says this is the evolution of the human race. Again, destroyed mind. Read that last one.
The present system under the control of the white.
He's telling who we under the control of, right? Come on.
Trains the Negro to be white.
Read.
And at the same time convinces him of the impropriety of the impossibility of his becoming.
Let me read it, bro. The present system under the control of the whites trains the Negro to be white, and at the same time convinces him of the impropriety or the impossibility of his becoming white. So it says he's fixed your mind to think like the white man, even though your skin will never turn white. The Negroes will have no outlet but to go down a blind alley if the sort of education which they are now receiving is to enable them to find the way out of their present difficulties. So he understood that there was something that was between the so-called white man and the so-called black man, but he was always looking for equality. So even though he spoke to us to exhort us to be better, he wanted us, in his mind, us being better would eventually make them see that we were equal with them, but he didn't want us to be above. That's the destruction of black history. That's why we have to get away from constantly talking about black history and get into the understanding of Israelite history that's written in the Bible. All right? Okay. Let's see now if we can finish this out. We only got a little bit left. Give me Now the pages. Let's go. I want to see some more Black history. Give me the Negro rulers. Just show you a little bit more history. We're not going to get through all of this, man, and I hate that. So this book is called The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles. We brought this out last night on In the Scripts Reloaded to touch on some history, and we'll be touching on some more of this book. It's got a lot of stuff in it, all right? The Negro Rulers of Scotland and the British Isles by Dr. John L. Johnson. This Dr. Johnson is the same Dr. Johnson that owned Ebony Magazine and Jet Magazine, all right, Johnson Publications. Go to the next page. Who are we going to look at here? We're going to look at King James, all right? So that's the image of King James. King James is a black man. But let's not let the picture say it. We're going to read it. Scroll up, blow it up just a little bit more. So this is King James, the Episcopalian Moorish King James the sixth and first, the sixth of Scotland, the first of Europe. And his last name was Stuart. Was the son of Henry and Mary Stuart, whose bloodline stretched all the way back to the Pictish Scottish King Kenneth the Nigger. His great-grandfather was called King Kenneth the Nigger. He became King of Scotland in A.D. 1567 through 1625 when they finally were able to kill him, following the death of his mother Mary of Scots, and was chosen by his cousin Elizabeth of England to succeed her. So King James was king over England and over Scotland and over France. He sat on multiple thrones, and he is the only king in history to ever do it, and he was the colored king, the black man, a Moor. This colored king was the first to unite the British Isles and Scotland, which then became Great Britain. So Great Britain was brought together and was founded by blacks, black rulership. This is our history. His name is the most well-known of all European kings, since he authorized the King James Version of the Bible. Black history. He did not keep all of those things that are written in the Bible against our oppressors because he was a so-called black man who had expectation that God would fully bring those prophecies to life. And he named the book after himself. All right? So let's go to the next page. Blow it up. Let's see where the name Stuart comes from. Bring it down so we can see. Blow it up, please. Bring it down so I can see the top part. The name Stuart derived from the Norse word svart, meaning black. So all of you so-called blacks with that last name Stuart, you're actually being called black because your oppressor took on names that actually belong to us. The name James was also spelled I-Ames, I-A-M-S. The first printed KJV, which was originally named after a black man in 1611. And why does it say that the name was originally spelled I-A-M-S? I-A-M-E-S? Because the letter J wasn't around at that time. We get it. That doesn't stop it from later on, like now, being a letter J. It just evolved over time. All right? Give me the next book that I gave you. There was another book. Actually, let's go to the one that says Nature Knows No Color Line. We didn't bring that one out last night on the show, but give me the pages that say Nature Knows No Color Line. And this book is by J.A. Rogers. So Nature Knows No Color Line. This is another book, another author or a so-called black man who put together a history of Europe to show more in-depth history. All right, let's go into that. Let's go to the next page. So now you see there it says Negroes in coats of arms of noble, meaning royal families. Let's blow that up a little bit. Let's see some of these names and faces. If you see, all of these coat of arms have black faces on them, except for like 3 of them. They didn't have no face on them. Go all the way to the top, bro, so I can see the top. All right? So you see it says Moran, Morian, Moricald, Moria. All of these are coats of arms that you find all across England. Look, the one that says Morian in the middle, that's Finland. That is in Finland. The one below that says Brett, which means Britain. Britain. Let's go all the way to the bottom of the page. All the way to the bottom of the page. All right, that's one of those. You see it says Negro in Milan. All right. But these are the names of these families, except 3 denote Negro ancestry. Negro, nigger ancestry. Let's go to the next page. So again, the coat of arms or the flags that the families had. All right. Let's go up. Let's go all the way to the bottom of the page. All the way to the bottom of the page. And where are these families from? French, Italian, Spanish, Polish families. All black. All black. We ruled Europe. We ruled it. All right. Now, I want to touch one last thing. One last thing, because there's a lot of quotes that blacks have used in the black church. All right. Maybe we'll be able to get one off in these last 5 minutes. Give me this quotes. The last one, it says it's about top 5 Old Testament texts. The link. Top 5 Old Testament texts. Just type that in Google, bro. Top 5 Old Testament texts. Pull it up on Google. We're not going to get to it. All right. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. All right. So understand again that there's no such thing as black history, even though we call it that today. What we have today is Israelite history. And we've shown today, or Lord willing, I pray that you see that what is written in the history books and what we call black history and what's happened to us historically is actually written in the Bible. And it's written for us to learn from. Give me Romans chapter 15, verse 4. We'll go out with a few scriptures.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
And I want you to read with some strength, man. Come on.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime.
Whatever things were written before you and I were ever created in the Bible, come on,
were written for our learning.
They were written for us to learn from. So if you want to know true, quote unquote, black history, we must go into the Bible, the things that were written aforetime. Come on.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
Might have hope. Give me Isaiah chapter 32, verse 16. We might have hope by being comforted through the things that are written in the Bible about us. We went into slavery for our disobedience. We are still in slavery today for our disobedience. So how would we come up out of it? By keeping the commandments of God. We'll go and read that in a second. Isaiah 34, verse 16.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 34 and verse 16.
Come on.
Seek ye out of the book of the Lord and read.
The Bible. Seek ye out of the Bible and read. Read.
For no one of these shall fail.
None of the history that's in it is going to fail. It holds and stands true. We just saw parallel the Bible with things that were being written by a man named Carter G. Woodson. It parallels. It will not fail. Come on.
None shall want her mate.
None shall want her mate. You can't match anything to the Bible. The Bible stands alone. Come on.
For my mouth it hath commanded, and his spirit it hath gathered them.
And his spirit hath gathered them. So if we want to know how we get out of this slavery, out of this condition, give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 1. Come on.
The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 1.
Read.
And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above.
Above, not equal to, but above
all nations of the earth.
All nations. If we do what the Most High God has commanded us to do, and we learn the laws, statutes, and commandments, the history and the prophecies of this Bible, God said we will return to being above all nations on the face of the earth. Let's see if it says it again. Give me that in 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14. 2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14.
2 Chronicles chapter 7 and verse 14.
Uh-huh.
If my people,
the Israelites,
which are called by my name,
Israel,
shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face,
come on,
and turn from their wicked ways,
sins,
then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land.
God said he will forgive us and restore us when we return back to him. But we've got to go to him in prayer. Last one, John 9:31. The Christian church loves to say, just pray to God, but you got to come out of your sins. Why? John 9:31.
The book of John, chapter 9 and verse 31.
Now
we know that God heareth not sinners.
That's why we must return to the law, statutes, and commandments of God, because God does not hear sinners. The only way that we're going to put off black history and put on Israelite history is to first keep the commandments of God, learn who we are, and do what he has commanded us. All right? I pray you gleaned something from today's class. With that, we say shalom.
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family.